Who says paper has to be white? Even boring old lawyers write on snazzy yellow pads, so why can't we have a little fun too? I'd like to tell you about my experiments with a type of paper that I used to not understand at all, toned paper. Maybe you're confused by it too. I'll tell you about my experiences with toned paper, and I'll recommend some products. And none of these opinions that I'm going to share are paid for. They're just my own personal sponsor-free ideas. Anyway, for a long time, I associated toned paper with life drawing, with graphite and white pencil on a gray background, which is not the kind of art that I make that much. But also it took me a while to discover this corner of the art supply world, because there simply weren't any sketchbooks available with toned paper for a long time. I even had my own sketchbook made with some toned pages to try it out. I made a whole video about that experience that you can watch next. Anyway, one day it occurred to me that toned paper could make life easier for me. I usually draw with black ink, but with the addition of just a white pencil, I'd instantly have 3 different tones, and that meant I didn't have to rely on lots of hatching and cross-hatching to create volume and tone and shadow. I'd easily have a range of black and gray and white without really having to do much. So my first toned sketchbook was a 400 series tone gray paper sketchbook from Strathmore. But at first I wasn't really sure how to work with it, so I just stuck to black ink and the white pencil, kind of what I thought you were supposed to do. But then over time, I decided to branch out and try some colored pencils, and then a little bit of watercolor and some acrylic markers and some tempera and some gouache. Lots of different ways of making color that I was used to using on my regular white paper, but was even different and interesting and worked in this little gray sketchbook of mine. When I worked with color on gray paper, I got really interesting and powerful new effects. I had this background layer, and it made my colors pop off the page in contrast with the gray. And when I left areas blank, what we call negative space, they somehow weren't as distracting as when they were bright white. I noticed that my art supply store started to carry more options for toned sketchbooks. There are lots of different types of paper now, and there's lots of different colors as well. You can find sketchbooks with toned watercolor paper too. And because I like to mix things up and use wet media like ink and watercolor and gouache, I'm also a fan of Strathmore's mixed media sketchbooks. They're good quality sketchbooks with paper that can take a licking, but don't lick them. My next toned sketchbook was from Hanamula, and its pages were light brown, or as they call it, cappuccino, so I used it to draw all types of coffee. Hanamula also has a range of sketchbooks with toned watercolor paper in beige and a grayish blue. And I also used it to draw with sumi ink and with watercolor pencils. I even found sketchbooks with black paper, which is like a whole new world of drawing with, particularly with acrylic markers and colored pencils that are great, and very opaque ones. You get amazing, powerful effects. One day Instagram showed me an ad for Uglybooks. They are decent quality sketchbooks with paper in the craziest colors imaginable at a very reasonable price. And I've already bought myself 6 different ones, yellow and orange and pink and turquoise and pale green and blue. And they come in saddle stitch and perfect bound formats. And there's a range of different sizes. I like to buy the mystery 3-pack and let them pick the colors for me. I love their battle cry. Uglybooks are designed and developed to break down the walls of expectation and to open up a world of free thought, similar to the way we all used to think when we were children, because beauty should have no rules. Sounds familiar, right? Well, the paper works fairly well with all the different media that I've thrown at it, ink and acrylic and pencils and tempera and markers, but they're really more for fun than for high-quality archival work, and I use them to experiment with all the time and just to do some free, expressive, fun playing around with, like I did when I was a child. If you've never worked with toned paper, don't limit yourself. There's so many ways to push it and to experiment with all of your favorite materials. And you'll get really interesting effects that will take your art in a new direction. I'm sure you're going to have a lot of fun. Give it a try. I hope you found this helpful. And if you did, sign up for my free essays. I'll send you great advice like this every week. And subscribe to this channel. I put out new videos every week. And next, watch this.